Welcome to our first video challenge here with APM Apparel Pattern Making. Today we're going to just do a couple basic little pattern changes to show you how you can take a basic sloper and create a new style. Today we have a front and a back dress sloper here, and we're going to basically apply two different style line changes. We're going to change our circular neckline to a V-neck with facing, and then we will go ahead and change the hem to a pointed hem where we'll have the side seams that just hang a little longer typically than your center front and center back. So let's go ahead and get started here, and we will show you how to make those simple little changes. First of all, you can see I have my front dress sloper here on top that's in white, and if I click on them they'll change colors. So my top one now is purple, my front piece, and then my back piece down here is my back peach, which is now purplish blue color. So we'll go ahead and work on these two pieces. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to take our front here, and since I'm working in a digital format, and if you're working by hand on a table, flat table, what you want to do is basically start figuring out what your dimensions are on your pattern pieces over here, so you can start determining where you want to add those lines, style lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on some measurements, and you'll be able to see my line lengths. So first of all, you need to determine how far down do you want your center front V. Typically, yes, you'd work with a ruler if you're working on a tabletop, but I'm going to go ahead and place a little dot here, and I'm going to say I want to place that dot, let's say 2 inches down. So I'm going to go ahead and place my little dot right here at 2 inches, and this is how far I'm going to want my little V-neck to follow down to. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and create that line, and I'm going to actually zoom in here a little closer so you can see it. Create that V line to the front. So on this example here, you can see I took a line just straight from my shoulder point at my neck, straight down to my 2 inches down here. You can see I drew a line. I wouldn't suggest doing that. That kind of cuts right into your neck. I would suggest taking that line and just kind of curving it a little bit so that you can make a nice smooth kind of a curve around the neckline of your garment to follow that nice neckline here, and then have it come down to like a little point right here at their center front. So it's a little smoother line, and it looks a little more nicer once you have it sewn up. So that's our first style line that we're going to go ahead and add to our block that we've done to the front. So we're going to hold at that point on that, and we'll come back to it in just a few minutes here. The next thing we want to do now is we're going to come back and we want to go ahead and take our hem lines here, and this is where we're going to change them to our pointed side lengths. And one thing that's important when you're looking at your block pieces, you definitely want to make sure side seam lengths are exactly the same. If for some reason you have one that's slightly off a little more than the other, you might want to just check them and reline them up, rewalk them, and then you can adjust them there. It's kind of hard to talk and walk you through the process here too. So first of all, what I'm doing is lining up my side seams, as you can see here, just to kind of check the length. So I've lined it up, you can see right here under the armhole. You might want to play a little bit. If you get really picky, I start getting a little more pickier here. If you want to get a little more picky, you want a nice smooth curve under that armhole. I'm kind of playing and adjusting here to get it a little nice, smoother, kind of a horseshoe type shape under that arm. So it's like nice and smooth. So, but anyways, coming back to our side seam, I'm looking at it, and as I come further down here, I can see my back is a little bit shorter than my front. So definitely that's something you want to fix ahead of time before we start moving on. So what you can do again is you can either take your back hem line and extend it down that it meets your front here, or you could take your front line and extend it up that it can meet your back. So Either option works. You can definitely do that, or you can equalize them where you can have the lines, your hemline kind of go all the way across right to the middle. These are so close and it's so minimal. I'm going to go ahead and I am just going to move the back here so that it'll line up with the sides. So I'm just kind of taking all my points and adjusting them now, because I picked up my point here and I kind of just blended it right in there. So basically what I did is I started from here, I didn't make any changes, and I just took my line slightly downer and blended in here is what I did. So that's my first change that I just did. Okay, so next we want to go ahead and make our side seam a little longer than the rest of our dress. So in order to do that, we're going to have to start playing a little bit here with this. So I'm going to start creating some style lines here, and we can start kind of playing with this and seeing how far down do we want this. Okay. Okay, so we have our little line here, kind of trying to figure out if that's really kind of the style we want. I'm going to adjust here a little bit. I don't want a line to come up and pop up at the center front. I want to have a nice smooth right angle off my center front and my center back. So I want to drop that down just a little. And I think I might want to make this just a little bit sharper of a curve. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more with this line here and make it a little bit sharper of a curve. And we'll pull this out a little bit further. So I have a little more there. And see if we like that. You can definitely do more adjusting if you want. So there's kind of an idea of the length you might want. I can also go back here and extend this line down. And it looks like I'm probably not really hitting the center point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this edge here. And I'm going to move this over because I want that point to be right on my center. Actually, I'm going to extend it just a little bit longer. We'll give it a little more length here, I think. So we'll go with that and try that. So there we go. So what we're going to do now next is we got our style lines kind of in place here. I'm just going to adjust this one up to meet right that hem there. So we got those style lines in place, and let's recreate. These are basically our blocks. Again, remember, our templates. So we don't want to start cutting into our templates. We've kind of, if you've worked with paper pattern, you've basically added some extra paper at the bottom of your slopers in a sense, where you've traced off your slopers on a piece of paper and then added paper and then made all these these markings on your paper down below or taped onto your paper. So you never want to use your actual slopers. You always want to start with take these and make a copy of these. So these are, in a sense, these are my copies of my actual sloper, because I don't want to get rid of these. I want to keep them as is because I always want to reuse them again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to start taking some copies of these pieces to recreate it. Excuse me. So let's see here. So I want to recreate my front piece here, and I'm going to copy all these pieces. I am not basically copying this piece here because I do not want to duplicate that piece. So what I'm doing is picking this whole internal piece and this whole internal piece. So basically, working with paper, you'd come back with a tracing wheel and paper, or a needlepoint tracing wheel, and you'd trace along all these lines here, along the new neckline, your shoulder, your arm, and then along that side seam. You would trace all that to re-get your new piece, and then once you have it, you would separate it from your slopers that you created and set it to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and set that one aside for just a moment, and then I'm going to do the same thing to my back. So I built that one. Let's go ahead and trace this one so I can give you a better idea. So I'm going to go ahead and trace my back one. So I'm kind of trace it all along my lines here. Okay, so there we go. So there's my back. So I've created my back now. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one up here too. And then we can see how they're lining up. I don't need this little dot that they're throwing in there. So I'm going to get rid of that. And now you can see your pieces. This is now my new front. So I'm just going to go ahead and label it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate this piece here. So they're both parallel here. Okay, so there's my two pieces set and ready to go now, right? Next thing I want to do is I need to have some facings. So I want to come back and recreate some facing pieces for, see, I get off on a tangent here. I see something that I don't like and I have to go off and try and fix it here. Being a little too anal, being part of the job of being a pattern maker, I guess. Anyways, so we're going back here and we're going to go ahead and add those facing pieces. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and create that facing piece. So let's do, I'm thinking, I'm going to go ahead and create a 1 1/8 inch facing, I think is what I want to do. So I'm drawing just another little style line along my piece here. And again, I'm going to do the same concept here again. I need to trace this piece off. So come back to your tracing wheel and go ahead and trace these pieces. Okay, my system doesn't want to trace with that one. Let's try a different route. Let's try, well, we're gonna have to build it on this. My system doesn't like that command right now. Okay, so there is my front neck facing. I'm gonna do the same thing for my back. I am going to go ahead and add that 1 1/8 in. And then again, I'm going to come back and create my back neck facing. Okay, so we can name those. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my guideline that I placed right there. Front and back, I don't need those guidelines there, right? Okay, so now I have my facing piece right here that basically will line up right inside. Remember, typically when you do facing, you want to take off about a 1/16 to about 1/8 of an inch here, so that it'll help the pattern piece roll back under and not show that seam when you sew it together. So I'm going to come back here and I am going to come over here and I'm going to take off a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch. I think I'm going to take off on this one. Let's go ahead and take 1/8 off. Oh, actually I'm going to go back and do this a little differently. Okay, so I'm going to take off an 1/8 inch right there. It's just going to totally just shorten my piece automatically versus me putting a little guideline in there and have to recut and retrace. So as you can see, it just kind of shortened it up there. And then same thing for my back. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for my back. Take that one down by 1/8. And then I'm also going to go ahead and take this in. going to take this one in probably about a 1/16 I think I want to do on this one. Let's go ahead and take that one just at the neck. Oh, sorry. We need to be doing that at the shoulder, not the center back. So I'm going to take this one in a little bit. I probably could have done more there. And then again here at the shoulder, I'm going to take this one in. There too. So I took off probably maybe a fat eighth between the two of them. So a little, maybe, you know, an eighth to a fat eighth probably between those two at this point. So if I take these pieces back here now, it's about an 1/8 inch smaller. You can see it kind of lines up. So we need to even go back a little bit more. You can see it where it lines up on the shoulder point. See where I hit it. I can get it in there to line up right. Closer. So maybe a little further up. It's real fussy sometimes when you're working these systems too. So there you go. You're a little closer. I'm a little closer in there. So you can see how it hits here, but you're going to have a little less in the neckline here and at this shoulder point here with the bulkage underneath for your fabric. Same scenario here at your back. If I go ahead and place it in here, it'll line up. There you go at your shoulder there with your 1/8 inch off or along the neckline and a little bit there in the shoulder seam. So now I'll go ahead and set that to the side, move this one to the side. So now at this point, you've basically created your new pattern off your sloper. You've added your V-neck and your side pointed hem. So you've actually created your brand new style line. So at this point, I'm turning my measurements off. You would definitely want to check it before you do anything, but I'm turning my measurements off. And remember, this is on a half, so you'd want to fold here and you want to fold here. And the back is the same thing. You would want to either fold it, or you'd want to, most likely you'd be cutting 2 of these, I would do, just to be safe. And then you have a seam, and I have a zipper open in the back because you'd have to get it over your neck, right? So you can go ahead and do that. And then after checking, go ahead and add your seam allowances on. So there's the first challenge for those examples. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in here with Apparel Pattern Making.